Hi. So yesterday someone was asking me about graded collection. Why do I get stuff graded? And I said mainly because I had a bad experience buying something loose graded on eBay and the condition wasn't very good. It sort of was rather disappointing. So I started buying grading, and this is quite a few years ago. So, I've always been a advocate of buying graded. I've always bought graded rather than getting stuff and then sending it in for grading. I've only ever done that once. I want to do more, but I always keep spending the money, so I never have money saved put aside to get stuff graded. Probably when I find my loose yak face, I'll definitely send that in, and a few other bits and bobs I've got, like the Tie Bomber. But in terms of Star Wars collecting, there's quite a lot you can do. You can collect vintage, modern. Um, Obviously, the vintage collection is very reminiscent of the vintage figures in it, the way they're presented, the card back and the blister, the colourful background behind the figure. So that's why those figures have a nostalgia appeal and, are very popular now. So, you get some great figures on really super articulated figures on cards that just reek of nostalgia, and you see that with other lines like Motu Origins and other figure lines that use the cards they had back in the past in the early 90s and 80s, but with modern figures, just to capitalize on what people collect. But my primary area that I like to collect the most is vintage carded Star Wars figures from the late 70s, early 80s. But obviously they're quite expensive now, so it's very rare that I get one. But I had quite a good collection, that I built up over the past 29 years. So, and also I always collected the modern stuff, the Power of the Force 2, the Saga Blue, the all the other lines that came out, Revenge of the Sith, all those prequel movie figures, even some of the sequel movie figures, the 3.75 carded figures. And yeah, so I've always enjoyed collecting Star Wars figures, especially when they had them in shops rather than ordering them online. I think going on a toy hunt was quite enjoyable back in the day, so nowadays it's just about going on eBay or an online site and just ordering stuff. It's not as much fun as it was back then. I don't really collect vehicles, like you just saw a couple of small vehicles that I've got graded, but I don't really collect vehicles just because of the size of them. And so, but I do collect other lines that are Star Wars, like Micro Machines, Hot Wheels and all that sort of stuff. So here's something I picked up yesterday, and that figure, the Power of the Force Comtech Greedo. So I like doing comparisons between figures from different eras. It's nice to see how sculpting has evolved and, how more accurate the figures look. That Comtech, this figure is still quite old. It's 23 years old now. So, and these are from the 90s as well. So, but it's nice to get these figures and open them, and they can be quite affordable these days. So if you're looking for something to review on your channel, if you have a YouTube channel and you want something cheap to review, there's a lot of good modern stuff that you can review. This tri-logo I just picked up on Thursday, and I think I got it at a good price, so, but primarily I collect the loose graded figures, these sort of figures here, like this hammerhead's got an error with the eye. It's got a bit of overspray there. You can see the white above the eye. And the vintage collection, especially when it's on sale, like these figures have been reduced in price now, so I've been picking these ones up, the Clone Wars vintage collection, and some of the waves like the Lebot Bib Fortuna, which are now going for $4.75 in the UK, which is a great price. The price for carded modern figures is quite high, and it's a bit off-putting. The retro collection is quite a nice line to collect. This I picked up recently. This is graded. I've always wanted this card, so I pulled the trigger and got a graded Power of the Force red card Greedo. Quite a nice piece. I think it's UKG 85 or AFA 85. And you can do toy photography if you've got loose figures. I mean, probably to start collecting, you'd want to start with the loose figures and get a set of those. I was talking to someone yesterday and he's almost completed the 96 figures. And then I sort of jokingly said, then you're going to start getting into the variations, the Spanish figures, the Mexican figures and all that sort of stuff. And he said no, he's going to stop with the 96, but that's famous last words. So I like the carded stuff the best. So this is a French Meccano Ben Kenobi, graded 70 I believe by UKG. This used to be quite common, but now it's a bit more scarce. But I've always liked the foreign cards. I mean, a lot of my collection is graded, but not all of it. I've got a lot of cards that I collected in the mid to say around 94, 93 that are ungraded, but I've got some nice pieces there. So most of the graded ones I've been collecting, say, since 2009. So this one I got this year as well, the B-Wing pilot. This Shave is a reissue, beautiful piece. So yeah, I mean, you've got lots of these two are Spanish attack drivers. So I do like collecting these loose variants of vintage Star Wars figures. It's quite good fun. I mean, I've got about 4 or 5 Walrus Man, 6 Rees variants. This Greedo, probably most likely is the Spanish Greedo. Certainly a No-Coup figure. And I mean, this thing here is just a small mini rig, so it doesn't take up too much space. It's Canadian. So it ticks 2 boxes for me. It's small and it's foreign. So I like that sort of stuff. Here's a last 17 figure Rourke. So I saw one of these at Sandown Park yesterday. It was UKG 50, I think. So still wanted a lot of money for it. Spanish figure like this, Rees, Spanish card. I love these foreign cards. So I think the foreign stuff's my favourite. Brazilian George Dusat from Droids. But there's so many areas you can collect when you collect vintage or modern Star Wars. You can stick to Hasbro Kenner, or you can go to Micro Machines or Hot Wheels and stuff like that. There's so much stuff to collect. And with me, I tend to be quite undisciplined. I tend to collect a lot of different stuff, and it's always, where do I put it, blah blah blah. I can't, because my space isn't such an issue that you can't have anything much on display unless you take it out of the package and stuff like that. Anyway, I hope you liked listening to me waffle. Cheers, goodbye.